to talk about rhythm. So, what's rhythm? For me, rhythm refers to the way of organizing sounds and silences in time. That's basically it, how you organize sound during time. But silence or rest is also a huge part of rhythm. So, with that in mind, hold on, guys. I'm just trying to start the YouTube stream, so I just want to make sure that it's live over there as well.
Do you have a link to get to the YouTube stream? I've never used that.
Yes, sharing it right now.
Great.
Yeah, it's over there. Yeah, it's on our Guitar Zoom YouTube channel. So it's right here on the chat. Also, just to introduce everyone before we get into today's topic, which is rhythm and rhythm notation, I just wanted to invite you guys to join our Guitar Zoom Academy in case you haven't applied and feel like that's a good fit for you at this stage of your guitar playing. Basically, what we do over there is that we like to listen about your goals, find about your journey, your process so far, and we do our best to assist you in order for you to get to those goals as effective as possible. So yeah, I'm gonna leave you guys the link in the chat in a second. Also, there's Luca. So
hey
hi, Luca.
guys,
How's it going?
hey Juan, hey, how's it going? Hi Colin, hi Mikey.
How you doing,
Who else
Luca?
do we have you? Hey Charles, how's it going? Nice to see you all. Great. So yeah,
Thank you, Luca.
obviously,
So,
as Juan mentioned, these are the live classes that we host twice a week on the free school community. And apart from, being super fun for us, hopefully we're giving you something, to work on, to think about, and also kind of like as a showcase to what we basically do every single day here in the Guitar Zoom Academy. So Juan, I think he just posted the link. If you guys are interested, yep, it's right there. So feel free to click on the link. Basically, it's very similar to what we do here, but it's much more in depth. It's going to be personalized to each one of your goals, your needs. You get on a kickoff call. We set up some very specific goals to work on for the next year, or we've got different programs. We've got a quarterly program. We've got a half, 6 months program, whatever is best for you. And you have the opportunity to basically, interact with one of the 8 instructors that are here available, including Steve Stine, of course. Including Juan, myself, Victor, Miguel, you kind of know who the guys are. But you can have this on a regular basis, like every single day if you want to. So absolutely. Feel free to join. Feel free to check those out. And yeah, so I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I apologize. I was a few minutes late. I was just finishing a class. So I'm not sure, Juan, if you introduced a little bit the topic for today.
yeah, we were getting into that. I just wanted to also add for the people on the YouTube stream, my connection might be a little slow because my actual house connection fell down. It rained very heavily. I'm using my phone as a modem, so it might be slow. If I ever disconnect, it was that. So apologies for that. But with that in mind, yeah, we were talking about today's topic, which is rhythm and rhythm notation. Basically, we just broke down the concept of rhythm. For me, that concept means organizing sounds and silences or rests in time. That's basically rhythm for me. So the concept of rhythm is the main thing that we need to define in order to get to today's topic, which is rhythm notation, right? How to write a rhythm, how to represent the specific length of any sound or rest. So with that in mind, I have this graphic over here that refers to rhythm figures. This is just a graphic I found online on Google. And right here you can see a couple of columns. So right here on the left side, we have the name of every one of these figures. Right here we got like the graphic that's going to represent every one of these little figures. Also the rest, so these are going to be the graphics that represent how long is that silence. This is the amount of beats that every one of these notes will last. We'll get into that in a second. And we'll also do some examples of these figures used on an actual measure. In this case, that's going to be a 4/4 measure. Again, something we'll break down in greater depth in just a moment. But just to get started, what I want to focus mostly on right now is this column right here, which stands for the graphics of every note. So I want to start on this one, on quarter notes. So have any of you guys heard of the word quarter note before? Do you know what that might mean?
Yes.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up if you have.
Yeah, please tell me, what's that? What's a quarter note?
Anyone? Mikey, what's a quarter note for you?
For me, it's a 1/4 of a 4/4 measure.
That's correct. Yes. So basically, there's another concept that we need to define as well, or mention right here, and it's the concept of a beat. That's going to be absolutely crucial for understanding what each of one of these drawings mean. So a beat is basically a measure of time on which you just measure the speed, basically. So think of, I don't know, Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. You can clearly clap a specific beat to that, right? If you can think of any other song that you like, you'll notice that there's a beat. So in this case, right? It's this beat that I'm clapping. So a beat can be fast, a beat can be slow. Think of, I don't know, a very fast metal song versus a very slow ballad. Beats are all over the place, referring to speed, but they all have like a specific length in time. In a metronome, that's represented via a measurement called BPM, that stands for beats per minute. Okay, so for instance, right here I have a metronome, and at the center of the screen it shows me 60 BPM. That means that the metronome is gonna beat 60 times on a minute, or every second, basically. That sounds like this. That's the speed of a second. So look, if we increase this number on the metronome, let's say that I want to take it to 140, it sounds faster because it's more frequent. Fashion, if we take it down to 45, for instance, that's going to be a slow beat. So that's what a beat represents. It's kind of a steady pulse, a steady measurement in time. So with that in mind, a quarter note stands for either a sound or a rest that's gonna last one beat. Okay, so coming back to that graphic, basically
and by the way, real quick, so that's what we usually call the tempo of a song. When we talk about tempo, we're talking about BPM, beats per minute.
That's correct. Yeah, the tempo is represented by that number on the metronome, which stands for the beats. Thank you, Luca. So, okay, with that in mind, let's go back to this graphic. So, this little symbol right here stands for a sound that will last one beat. Now, before moving on into any of the other ones, I think it was Mikey who earlier mentioned something called a 4/4 time signature, right? Something that looks like this. So a time signature is a group of beats. It's a cycle that starts, ends, and repeats itself all over again. So for instance, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So 4/4 stands for a time signature that will have 4 quarter notes or 4 beats. Okay, this is, I would dare to say, this is the most common time signature that exists. 4/4. A lot of pop based music, rock music, blues, a lot of music is written on this time signature. So yeah, that stands for a beat or a measure that has 4 beats each, right? So that's what we're gonna call 1, 2, 3, 4. Tell us, Luca.
Yeah, and basically, that 4/4 is in form of a fraction. Basically, what it means, okay, the number on top, like the numerator of the fraction, is the number of beats we're going to have inside the measure, okay? And the number of the bottom represents each beat. So what this means is that basically in a 4/4 time signatures, we're going to have 4 notes. Each one is going to be a quarter in duration. So it's going to be 4 quarter notes, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great observation. For example, staying on the number on the bottom as 4, there's a time signature very common as well called 3/4. That basically means that the measurements will be quarter notes as well, but instead of having 4 of them, like here, we will have only 3 of them, right? That would look like this. Just 3 quarter notes. That's 3/4. That's the time signature for a valse, for example. Dun,
Absolutely.
gun, dun, gun, gun, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Maybe if you're into progressive rock, you'll encounter stuff like this, either 5/4, which would be 5 quarter notes, right? Or maybe 7/4. I can think of, I don't know, Tom Sawyer by Rush. It has a section
or
on 7/4.
yeah, Money by Pink Floyd. I think it's also in 7/4.
Yep. That dun, king, dun, dun, dun,
Dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun. Yep.
Yep. That's
Yep,
7/4.
exactly.
But yeah, that's basically what that time signature measurement means. The number on top is how many beats are we gonna have, and the number below represents the musical figure. For now, we are just using quarter notes as a reference. We might get into mentioning different time signatures, such as, for example, 6/8, which is a very common one, or 2/2, that represent different musical figures. But for now, just to keep things simple, let's stick with 4/4. So back to this example, we were saying that on this time signature, we can fit 4 quarter notes, right? So that basically means 1, 2, 3, 4. Before moving on, let me just check the chat because there are any questions.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm checking it
Awesome.
out. Yeah.
Thank you, Luca. So
Sure.
yeah, that's a quarter note. That's 1 note per beat. Now check this one out. A half note is a note that will last 2 beats. That means that, for instance, we can like tie these two together, and that would be something like this, right? That half note will represent those first 2 beats, 1, 2, and on this example we just wrote another 2 quarter notes right here, so we would attack all of that. So look, why is this useful? We can start actually rhythms on the guitar. So for instance, let's say that this little thing over here is gonna be letter A or rhythm A, and this one is gonna be rhythm B. So I'm gonna play rhythm A for a little bit. That sounds like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now rhythm B will sound like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the two of them together sounds like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, why is this important? For now, I'm just using it as an abstract concept to play over just one note. But look, we can, for example, strum using these patterns, and that on its own will sound very musical. Look: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe changing chords: 2, 3, 4. 1, 3, 4. 1. Right? I'm still using the same rhythm. I just changed chords. And that sounds very musical. So that's why this is important. You'll be able to read, recreate, or even create new rhythms while being able to read them, or to maybe just think of them in your head, maybe even in numbers like this. It's a very useful tool to not getting stuck to just one specific pattern, but to actually be able to change things up. You'll encounter different rhythm patterns on different songs, different even genres will have their different rhythm tweaks. So this is extremely useful for any music genre. So for that, with that in mind, before moving on, is this making sense so far? Or Luca, do you maybe have something else to add before we move on?
Well, really quick, these rhythms, you can also actually use them when you practice scales. Like one way, we are always kind of used to practicing scales the same way. Like, for example, only using half notes. So if we're thinking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth, right? But that very same rhythm that Juan had on screen just a moment ago, we can definitely use it to practice the scale. And it's going to start to sound much more musical, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, for example. So it's going to give you endless possibilities of how to practice scales in a more musical way, I guess. Something that can be more related to actually the way we would play, in a real world situation, basically.
Yep. So yeah, they're very useful not only for playing songs, but also for practicing, for changing the way you approach any resource. Either it's a chord progression, a scale, even if you're soloing, you can solo based on a specific rhythm and stick to that one, and you'll be surprised at how many different ideas you can get out of the same rhythm. So yeah, that's why this stuff is very important. It applies for your comping, song playing, improvisation, even just practice. It covers a lot of ground that's going to be necessary for anything guitar playing related. So yeah, with that in mind, let's move on. Remember, guys, if there are any questions, just leave them on the chat. We'll be happy to answer.
Please, yeah. And one thing that I just wanted to mention super quick, Juan, sorry for interrupting, is that, like, for example, if we think about the basic three elements of music, okay, and we're talking about rhythm being one element, melody, which is actually, what we hear, what we sing, and harmony, which is actually the chords. For me, like, by far the most important one of all is rhythm. Okay? And the reason why is that rhythm is part of our everyday life, basically. Our heartbeat is a rhythm. It's a pulse. Okay? The way we walk, down the street, it's a rhythm. So it's something that's very much integrated into our everyday life. Okay? And many times, even if we are not 100% sure of hitting the correct notes, if you play them with a good rhythm feel, everything that you play is going to sound convincing. That's kind of like my point here. So rhythm is super, super important, in every aspect, like, of music. And again, we can think about like the sunrise and the sunset. That's a slow rhythm, but it still is a rhythm. You know what I'm saying? So it's something that, without getting too philosophical, but it's something that's, part of our everyday life, basically.
Yeah, definitely. Being more philosophical, even notes themselves are rhythm, because a note is a frequency. That's a wave oscillating at a specific rhythm. So yeah, that's going too far away, but definitely rhythm is just crucial for life in general. Also, before moving on, there was a question by owner. He's saying that so is 120 BPM 4/4 time. And then he says my metro is always saying 4/4, but even at 180. So yeah, that's the thing. Those are two separate concepts. The BPM stands for the speed of the beat, and 4/4 is the time signature. So look right here. Hold on, I have the stream open in case there were any YouTube questions. So right here my metronome is set at 4/4. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's right here. And on the top of the screen I have 4 rectangles, which stands for the beats. So this one is accentuated because that's going to be the first beat. That will make it sound different than the other ones. So if I set my metronome at 60, that's going to sound like this. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But look, if I change the speed, which is the BPM, let's say I'm gonna play it at 90, we still get a cycle of 4 beats. It's just faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. I can set it at 160. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. It's still 4 beats, right? It's still a cycle of 4 of them, but it gets faster every time I increase the speed. I could do, I don't know, 190. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The beats are just faster, right? But it's still a time signature of 4/4. On the same fashion, I can go slower. So we started at 60, which sounded like this. 2, 3, 4, 1. We can go slower. But as you can see, the cycle will still be of 4 beats. 2, 3, 4. What's that, owner?
Yeah, that was me.
Or
Yeah, I'm sorry,
so
we
what
didn't
was
get that.
I was just looking for quarter notes, the 4, 1, 2, 3 on my metronome. And at 180 and 80, that's not quarter notes, or 60. So I'm just wondering if one
no, that can be. So yeah, that's the thing. If you're at 180 and your metronome is set at 4/4, that means that your quarter note will be very short because it's set at 180. But that's the thing. That's still gonna be a quarter note. So that's why I said these figures are relative to a specific speed. Or I don't know if I mentioned that, but they are relative to the speed. So this is my metronome at 180. 1, 2, 3, 4. The quarter notes would be that fast. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Every one of these things I'm snapping is gonna be a quarter note. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4/4 at 180. Okay.
Yeah.
The quarter note still applies.
Every click of the metronome is going to be a quarter note. But you can have it faster or slower.
It sounds more like eighth notes to me, but okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. It depends on the context. It's absolutely relative to the actual genre you're playing over. But yeah, you can have quarter notes at that speed and even faster. If you take a look at, I don't know, bebop records, which are like a very specific genre of jazz, where you play fast, you go to 50 or 300, like very, very fast music. So yeah, it's absolutely relative to the genre or rhythm you're playing over. Okay. For now, we're just talking about abstract concepts. Maybe if we have the time, we'll incorporate a little bit of context into that. But yeah, that's just to say that number stands for the speed. Okay, that quarter note will apply the same logic at any speed. It's just that if the number is high, you'll get shorter or faster quarter notes. If the number on the metronome is lower, you'll get longer or slower quarter notes. Is that making sense so far, guys?
Kind of. I still think it sounds more like eighth or 16th notes, but that's okay. Thanks anyway.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah, again, it depends on the context.
As Juan mentioned, it depends on the tempo. Okay, so we're talking about basically. So far, we've been talking about quarter notes and half notes. Okay, so if we think about the tempo, okay, of a tune, let's say 120. Okay. And we play a note for every click, that's going to be a quarter note. Okay, because for every beat, we have one note. Okay, that's the concept of quarter notes. Now, and we're talking about 120 BPM. If I think of twice as fast, 240 BPM, those quarter notes that I had before are going to become half notes just because we're making the speed twice as fast. Okay? So if does this make sense?
It's starting to. I'm trying to relate back to my music theory back in high school 50 years ago.
Right, right. So the important thing is that it's going to be relative to the tempo.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the big thing. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right. Thanks.
Sure.
Awesome. Yeah. Now, I also wanted to show a little bit of a practical example of that, but I feel my connection might be messing with me. You guys can hear me okay?
Yeah, yeah. You're good, man.
Okay, great. I just said that and Zoom kicked me out. Sorry.
Yeah, you just disappear for a second. Don't say too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm calling it. So yeah, my connection will be stable. So look, owner, this can be a quarter note that's at a relatively slow tempo. Right, the beats are this. Those are my quarter notes right there. But look, if I go double time on that, right, this feels fast, but I'm still doing quarter notes. It's just these are my quarter notes now, right? So it depends on the context. Again, if I play it slower, these are gonna be my quarter notes. These are my quarter notes. If I go fast, those are my quarter notes. Right, so it will be relative to the context you're playing over. That's why the metronome it can go wide ranges, because we can use all of those ranges for a speed of our beats. Is that making sense?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks,
Awesome.
man.
Sure.
Awesome.
Awesome. So, hold on, let me spot like that again. Here it is. Okay, great. Now, let's move on to adding rests to this. So, the rhythm we had written over here was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that was it. Now I want to introduce quarter note rests, which is gonna mean that we're not gonna play one specific beat. I'm just gonna randomly place it anywhere. I want to mute this third beat. So the actual symbol is this. The way I write it looks something like this, but assume it's this drawing, okay? So that represents the same thing. So that will mean that we're gonna play the first and the second beat. We're not gonna play anything on the third one, and we play the fourth again. And this rhythm for now will remain the same. So that's gonna sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? That's what our rest represents, basically the absence of a sound, but as you could see, for a specific length of time. In this case, it was 1 beat long, because it was the rest of a quarter note. So yeah, we could play around with maybe messing around some of the beats as well. Maybe what happens if we take this away as well. Sorry, that was awful. Better. So that's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's that rhythm. Again, taking that, for example, to a progression. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know, just doing some examples around that. But that's the concept of a rest, taking away a sound for that specific length. That was the rest for a quarter note. Now let's play around maybe with a different pattern, and let's apply this one as well, the rest for a half note. It looks like a hat, so let's see what we can do with that one. I don't know, I want to do this. So that means that I'm not gonna play anything on the third and fourth beats of this measure, and I come back to playing on the second measure. So that pattern, maybe playing it faster, would sound something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Look, this for me sounds like the basis of a riff. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Right, I'm just trying to improvise something, basing my ideas on that specific rhythm we have on the board. So look, very simple concepts can take us a long way. I would, if I had the time right now, explore a little bit more on that riff to write a song. I thought that was a pretty cool riff, which I'm actually gonna steal for later. I really like that rhythm. But
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
that's
a
the
rhythm
rest.
can be, the starting point for just, anything that comes to your mind, and a lot of times, when I'm looking for some inspiration to compose a new piece of music, I would just start with a rhythm, with a drum beat, and just whatever that comes to mind. We start hearing things in our head right away as soon as we hear a beat, as soon as we hear a rhythm. So it's a great starting point for songwriting. If you're into that, just what Juan said it was the perfect example, basically.
Yeah, it just sparks something. You, as Lucas said, you start to hear it in your head.
Yes.
So yeah, rhythm is a great way of also sparking that creativity in case you guys are into writing your own ideas. That's gonna be a fun place to start. Maybe to explore a strumming pattern or the rhythm for a melody or a motif. For instance, let's do another example with that. Similar to what Lucas said earlier on applying maybe one of these patterns for practicing your scales. So look, I'm gonna apply that pattern I highlighted, which we called pattern B, right? For example, to practice my scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. After repeating a specific rhythm for a while, you kind of get the groove of it. So this one goes like dun, 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 dun. That can be a now I'm gonna improvise some melodies out of that pattern. I'm just gonna change the notes I'm playing, but the rhythm will remain the same. Right? That can be a good starting point for building your own solo. Again, I didn't use any other rhythm concept apart from these little things right here, and some rests, some longer rest here and there that I just used to let my ideas breathe. So yeah, rhythm is a powerful tool. As you can see, we haven't dived any deeper into eighth notes or sixteenths or triplets. This on its own, just understanding how the beats work, can take you a very long way. Now, with that in mind, we can get into the submission side of things. But before that, Luca, do you want to say something?
Well, I just wanted to do a real quick experiment, and I'm going to play something, and you guys tell me what this sounds like to you, okay? So here we go.
Happy birthday to you too.
Happy birthday! But it was like super weird, right? Because I didn't even play the right notes.
That's right.
But just with the rhythm, you just figure out what song I was playing. There we go. That's the power of rhythm.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Look,
That's pretty cool.
right? The rhythm can be highlighted even though I'm playing some random notes. So yeah, that's a great, great point to prove rhythm is the key part of this. That's great. Great.
Awesome.
Oh yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, that was funny. So yeah, coming back to this, yeah, I would tell you guys maybe if you're into this, experiment on writing your own. Maybe as we were doing right here, we were randomly choosing which beats to play, which ones not to play, right? Which ones to do rests with. We can randomly say, I don't want to play this one, or I don't want to play this one, or I want to add a half note here, or whatever. But yeah, I would encourage you guys to experiment with that. On the same fashion, the way I really learned this, like I really interiorized it, was by a book that I studied in college called, I don't remember the name, but it's by an author called Anne Carruthers. I'll look for the title in a second, but there's the name of the author on the Zoom chat. It's something like Studying Rhythm or something like that. That's the name of the book. And yeah, it's a powerful tool because it dives like this into exploring all of the different possibilities that you can have on a single time signature, exploring one of these figures at a time. It's a great tool. I really find it interesting to study, very funny, but very, very useful. So that's just in case anybody wants to dive deeper into that world. Luca also has a book. Do you
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not sure the author, but this is something that you can find very easily. It's called Encyclopedia of Reading Rhythms. Let me just copy that. And if you give me a second, I'm going to find the author. Encyclopedia of Reading Rhythms. I'll find the author in a sec. Just give me 1 second here.
Yeah, I just found the name of the author and the book I was referring to, so I'm leaving that on the chat as well. That's Anne Carruthers Hall, and the book
Studying
is
Rhythm.
Studying
There
Rhythm.
you go, Colin. Exactly, you got it. The one that
Awesome.
I'm thinking
Now-
about. Yeah, go ahead, Juan. I'll just find the name and of the author and I'll put it on the chat.
Okay, great. So something I wanted to touch on before diving into subdivision is just to mention whole notes. Also, sorry if my connection is falling a little bit, but yeah, I hope it's stable now.
Yep, you're good.
I'm back. So yeah, I just wanted to mention whole notes, which are figures that will last 4 beats each. Okay, I find those ones also important. So for instance, let's do this rhythm. We're gonna do a whole note over here. That means that we're just gonna strum the first beat of this measure and just leave that ringing, and maybe we'll leave this rhythm right here. So it's kind of a rhythmic build-up. That's actually exactly what happens on electronic music. I'll explain that in a second. But yeah, this rhythm right here goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So that whole note is just a note that lasts 4 beats. On the same fashion, the rest for this one is kind of a backwards hat. I always confuse the two of this. I always need to remember which one is the normal hat and which one is the backwards. But yeah, this rhythm right here would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Just to show you guys how that whole note looks, sounds, and works. Yeah, I really like the one that we said with just the whole note over here. That's a pretty cool one. Now, just to mention that real quick, the kind of stuff that people do on electronic music when building out something called drops is that they build up the subdivision. So the previous example we had just a moment ago, look, something like we just had a whole note over here, then a half note, and then some quarter notes. So as you can see, each figure is the half of the previous one. So this one lasts 4 beats, this one lasts 2, lasts 1, right? So that's basically ta 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 ta. That's the kind of stuff they do on electronic music, but faster. Kind of tu 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 tu. So yeah, that's what happens on electronic music. They do build-ups playing with that, with breaking down every sound into half, and then that into half of it, and then that into half of it. That was just a quick comment. Now, the next thing I wanted to touch on were eighth notes. So an eighth note is basically half of a quarter note. Before drawing those, I just wanted to point this out, and it's, guys, look, on these graphics we have right here, every one of the figures will be half of each one if we go down. So what I was just mentioning, a whole note lasts 4 beats, a half note is half of that, so 2 beats, a quarter note is half of that, so that's gonna be 1, an eighth note is half of that, so that's gonna be half a beat, and so on. So if you move on this direction on the graphic, it's gonna be by halves, or if you move up on the graphic, it's gonna be double. Half 2, double makes 2, double makes 4, right? So it's kind of a correlation of halves or doubles on this graphic. So with that in mind, look, in a single measure where we can fit 4 quarter notes, we can also fit 8 eighth notes. So I don't know if you guys have heard of something called 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and that's what's happening here. So look, on the first measure that we have here on the screen, we have just 4 quarter notes, and now on the right side we will have 8 eighth notes. That's where we're adding those ends, or also known as upbeats. So we got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So again, calling this measure rhythm A and this one rhythm B, we have this. If our speed goes like this, rhythm A will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Rhythm B, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. As you can see, I'm still shaking my head at the same rate at any of these rhythms because the beat is the same. I'm just changing the rhythm I'm playing. I'm subdividing every quarter note into 2 parts. So that's what eighth notes mean. With that in mind, are there any questions with this, or is that making sense?
Yeah.
Luca, anything?
All good. Yeah, no, just really quick. The other way to think about the eighth notes is that basically for every beat, we're going to have 2 attacks, both of the same duration. Okay, so that's why, if this is our pulse, 1, 2, 3, 4, here are the quarter notes, and the eighth notes are going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, that's another way to think about it. For every beat, we're going to have 2 notes of the same duration, and those are the eighth notes.
That's exactly right. It's basically subdividing a specific beat into 2 even parts. Okay, so that's actually something we also wanted to touch on today. There's something called swing, which is basically not making that subdivision even, but making one of them larger than the other. We'll dive into that in a second. I just wanted to, before doing that, just explore how the rests on eighth notes work. So let's try this out. Let's maybe do a new drawing of this. So okay, let's call this our grid. It's gonna be that 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So if we start with this, There we have our 8 notes. Sorry if my lines are a little crooked. This is freehand writing, so it's a little funny to do. But yeah, that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Look, I want to do something. So the rest for an 8 note looks like a little cane. So I'm gonna maybe take away one of these 8 notes. I'm gonna take away the 4 and. So this will look like this. Oh, another comment before moving into reading this rhythm is that a single 8 note looks like this. But when you tie 2 of them together, they look like this. There's no difference in the sound of each notes. It's just a way of making your reading easier, because if we didn't do that, we would have something like this. And that would be a little confusing to read if all of those 8 notes are separated in between each other. So
yeah,
just visually,
that's super important, Juan. Absolutely, that's super important, because many times people tend to confuse one or the other. What is this? Why is this tied together? Well, it's just basically an easier way for us to read.
Yep, look, these 2 rhythms, the one in green and the one in orange, are actually the same rhythm. But at least for me, it's way easier to read this one on the bottom because they are grouped by 2. It might be a little bit more confusing to actually know on which one of the 8 notes are you if they all look the same. If they're grouped, it's way easier to read. But yeah, they're gonna be the same thing. So with that in mind, we have our 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So this rhythm looks like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that was taking away one of the up beats, right? Now, if we take away one of the beats, we can get something called syncopation. Check this out. I'm gonna take away the 3. So I'm gonna leave the 3 and, but the 3 is gonna be our rest. So this one looks like this. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Look, maybe this can be a funk pattern. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and maybe playing it faster. Sorry. Just making up some ideas, but yeah, we can use the same rhythm for a wide variety of contexts. The point here being, on 8 notes we can either take away a downbeat or an upbeat, and they will have very different feels to them. Okay, again, the invitation would be, guys, maybe write your own time signatures, your own measures, play around with subtracting beats here and there, with subtracting 8 notes. Also play around with mixing some of these figures. So far, at this example on 8 notes, we are only using 8 notes. But for instance, we could do something like this. So on this rhythm I just wrote, we have.
Yeah, that would be interesting to practice a scale with that rhythm.
Yeah.
And it starts to sound like music. You know?
Yep. 1, 2 and 4 and
Yep.
or that can be our riff as well. Yep. So yeah, look, by just mixing these things up, you get very interesting ideas. So yeah, what happens if you include some half notes in the mix? What happens if you include some whole notes in the mix, or if you pick some rests along the way? For now, we have just built ideas that are 1 or 2 measures long, but you can play around with maybe 3, 4 measure ideas. That will be very interesting cycles because they have a longer momentum, and you can play around with more of these possibilities. Okay, so again, make up your own rhythms. Okay, write them. You yourself play around with what happens if I play this beat, or if I subtract it, what happens if I use this figure here. You'll encounter very different ideas. So with that said, Luca, what do you have to tell us on swing?
Well, basically, apart from so far, we've talked about basically binary subdivisions. Okay, we're talking about whole notes, quarter notes. Okay, so my quarter note is my basic figure, and I can subdivide that binary, right? Playing eighth notes or 16th notes. Now, there is another way we can group a beat, which is by something called the triplet. So a triplet is basically if eighth notes, okay, are 2 sounds per beat, a triplet is going to be 3 sounds per beat. And, without having to get really deep into this, we can have eighth note triplets, we can have quarter note triplets, and so on and so forth. Now, if I'm thinking about eighth notes, okay, and let's say I'm thinking about this pulse, okay, so this would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now, I can subdivide that quarter note into 3 pulses, and that's going to be our triplet. So the triplet is going to sound something like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, or triplet 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 triplet. Now, if we take the first 2 notes of the triplet and we tie them together, we get something like this: 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Okay, so we're gonna get basically something like this. I'm still thinking the triplets in my mind, right? 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. But I'm just playing the first and the third, so it's 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 2 3 1, and that's basically what the swing sounds like, if this makes any sense at all. Now we're getting into a deeper topic, but when you want to play swing or a shuffle groove, which is very similar, think about those triplets. And on a slow blues, you can hear that very clearly, like when we play something like, it's 1 2 3 1, right? 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Right? Or okay, so that's the shuffle feel or the swing feel, which is actually based on the triplets subdivision. Make sense?
Thank you.
Awesome.
Awesome, guys. So yeah, basically, if you go slow, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2
Right.
3. What I do for practicing this, or at least it works for me, is kind of singing all of them, but whispering the one I'm muting. So 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. So I'm still thinking of all of them. I'm making them sound in my head, but not on the guitar. 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Right? We can go at any speed with that. So yeah, we encourage you guys to try different tempos. Try on the slow end. Right? Or maybe right? Different tempos will give you different expressions, but it's still the same concept, right? It's just
Another way
relative.
to think about the swing is kind of like a heartbeat. Tum, 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 tum. And it's going to sound super different. Like, I can put my metronome on and, I can play like let's see, let's try eighth notes first and then swung eighth notes, which are basically with the triplet feel. So that's going to sound something like this. And again, I'm going to put my metronome on a comfortable tempo, maybe 65 or something like this. Okay. So this is what my eighth notes sound like when I'm playing them with a straight feel. Okay, both have the same duration. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. But if I start playing them like this, then you can actually kind of feel that triplet, that triplet subdivision in there. So yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to think about the swing feel, either as a heartbeat or as it actually is a triplet, with just the first and the third note attacked, basically.
Yeah, or also think of a train.
Exactly.
Yep, that sound can also evoke that triplet feel in your head. That might work. So yeah, guys, that's what we have for today. Actually, we were able to cover exactly what we wanted to cover today, so that's great. We could
Any questions whatsoever before we say goodbye?
Yeah, let us know, guys. Also, I'm just sharing the link one more time in case you want to apply for our academy. This is the kind of stuff we do every day, okay? The roster of instructors is pretty varied, so all of us have different backgrounds, specialities. But yeah, we like to interact with you guys every day over here and assist you to help you get there on your goals. So yeah, in case that's something you consider that fits your guitar journey at this moment, please consider joining and having a conversation with us. We'll be glad to talk with you. Okay? So
awesome,
guys.
Awesome. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining us today. It's always a pleasure for us to be here. Thank you, Juan, for having me here today with you. And yeah, looking forward to next week. Let's see what we can come up with.
Look forward to it.
Also, thank you for your time and knowledge, and guys, for your time and attention, and hope to see you anytime soon. So yeah, the next class will be on Saturday. I think it's gonna be Victor and Miguel. Don't know the topic yet, but yeah, just pay attention to that calendar, and hope to see you guys there as well. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome.